And we are live here on Carnivore Sunday School. Thank you for joining us again. Before we get started, how long have we been on Carnivore Sunday School? We started last July. Is it, George?
No, June. It was actually June of last year that we started.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is great. And we've not missed a Sunday. I may have missed a Sunday or you may have, but we've always been on. So I'm so excited that this is taking off. And if you're just joining us, this is every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time in the United States, 6 p.m. in the United Kingdom. We have a special guest almost every week who tells us how they came to carnivore and their very special talents and skills and successes. And we have one very unique gentleman who's going to join us today. We hope he gets on here. There he is. And his story is unlike any others you have ever heard. If you've never met or heard of this gentleman down here, we'll introduce him in a second. Very unique and different story of how he came to carnivore. So before we get started, we'll go around and do our little mini introductions, tell us who you are, and just a very quick intro of how long you've been carnivore and when you came to it. And then we'll get to our special guest who will enlighten us, and maybe he'll hold things up in the screen while he's talking because he's really good at doing that. So we'll start with Juliet. We'll go clockwise.
Hi, I'm Juliet Edens, Coach Juliet Edens on YouTube, Coach Juliet Edens on my new Facebook page, and soon my website will be CoachJulietEdens.com. I've been carnivore. I haven't kept track, but it's well over a year now. I think I'm on like 15, 16 months or so because I only planned to do it 30 days and I never tracked it. But I've been strict carnivore for that long and not looking back.
Great. Thank you, Juliet. I'm John Laspina. I'm Carnivore Teacher Alpha. I've been doing carnivore for 3 full years. And before that, I was also low carb. So a total of kind of 8 years of eliminating carbs, sugars, and seed oils. And I found such great success improving my health that I'm teaching about it now here on YouTube because there are so many benefits. Someone who's looking is going to find us and learn about this amazing ancestral way of eating. Over to you, George.
Okay, George Goodenough, age 60, 6 weeks younger than John, actually. And I started my journey on March 1st, 2022, when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and being morbidly obese. There's the photograph that I always show, the before and after photographs. That was when I was morbidly obese, type 2 diabetic, in August of 2019, actually, and August 2025, the after photograph. I date my journey back to the 1st of March 22 when I was diagnosed, because I didn't know anything about carnivore then, but I did discover low carb keto and gradually transitioned across to carnivore. And now my main role within the carnivore community is basically the UK ambassador to the US of A. I am a Kilts Health trained coach, as Juliet is. I'm a moderator on the Kilts Health channel. I'm also the UK ambassador to the film Healing Humanity. I'm working very closely with Kerry at the moment to get the UK premiere organised. So my main role within the carnivore community is definitely to try and unify the global carnivore community. We are a global village now. People, I think that way. Not everybody does. So what I'm trying to do is get the entire community singing off the same song sheet. And we're doing very, very well. And I've got quite a few people coming from all over the world, Europe, Australia, and America, to come to the Great British Meetup, of which I am the originator in June of this year. So, yeah, my main role is international relations, let's say. Thank you.
Great. Rick, quick intro, Rick, and then we'll get into everything's about you for the rest of the show. So just do a quick intro. Tell us about yourself.
Well, hopefully you can hear me okay.
We can you back the mic off a little bit? You're like
sure. Sometimes
louder than we are.
Milton adjusts my sound when he's not. There we go.
That's better. All right.
So we got that straightened out.
That's
the
good.
Technical issues are definitely a part of my environment when you have a wild animal and you're back in the past. But if you don't know who I am, well, I don't know where you've been, because anyone that's in the carnivore community should know about the guy that eats iguanas and started carnivore at age 15 in 1983. And I've been eating this way all this time, having fun with it, and I haven't got a heart attack yet.
That's an intro. That's a good intro. Now
You're still
anybody
waiting.
who doesn't know you is going to be is going to be thinking, what's going on? So let's ask you the big question then, and we'll get right into this interview, Rick. For anybody who's new, because we have a lot of new people that join us, have never heard of you before. You're known as the Duck Man, the Iguana Man. You're 6'6", 6'7" tall. I mean, I met you in person, and you are very tall. There's his Duck. Everybody in the audience. He's going to start holding things up. It's like show and tell with Rick. I love him. So Rick came to carnivore, unlike many other people in the carnivore community, like I came to it. A lot of other people came to lose weight, to heal a medical problem. But Rick did it out of teenage rebellion, I think. I mean, everybody told him to eat low carb, don't eat fat, don't eat meat. And Rick said, you don't do that, you're going to get a heart attack. And he's like, I'm going to get that heart attack. And that's what he started to do. He started not listening to what everybody said at the time. And he shot up in height. And here he is today, 41 and a half, I think, years later. We have an amazing role model for the carnivore community. Rick is just amazing. So let's ask you the big question, Rick. What was it that caused you to change your mind when you were 15 years old and say you actually want to have a heart attack?
Well, I never really wanted to have a heart attack, but this is a picture of me back in 1983 in junior high, and you can see the resemblance. This was before I started the carnivore diet. Now, I was just kind of a skinny and short kid. I'm still skinny. I mean, I've got arms like a toothpick, but I can lift an engine block, so don't act like I'm a weak person. But anyway, I started out like this. I got picked on a lot. And as you can see in this picture, I still had somewhat normal hair, but as I got a little bit older, I started to grease it down. I've backed off on it a little bit, but I used to have trouble with kids messing up my hair and spitting in it. So I started putting Vaseline originally, and then I started using lard because I got the idea from a Tom and Jerry cartoon. But in junior high, it wasn't fun. And by 9th grade, I was still getting picked on. I actually got expelled from school because I got into a fight with one kid. It was a very unpleasant experience. And that summer, I was helping my dad build a carport, and somehow there was a loose board. I fell through the roof, broke my left arm, didn't break it completely, but it was like fractured. So I had to start high school a little bit late because they wanted to wait for it to heal. I didn't need a cast, but I had a sling, which, by the way, I still have. Around here, we tend to keep everything. So I have paperwork from when I was a kid. I may even find my old medical records somewhere where I got my arm broken. You never know in this house. But the thing was, I was just a very frustrated, and I was a kid that didn't want to continue that way. And everybody had given me advice. They told me of ways to try to gain weight. And one way, of course, was to take those weight gain formulations, which tasted awful. They were either in vanilla or chocolate flavor. And I hate sweet things. I've always been that way. And I tried working out. That didn't work. I mean, I was a kid that couldn't do a single pull-up. And the only defense I had was to run away. So if somebody went to beat me up, I'd run away. That's how I avoided getting beat up. I got picked on in school, but once I got out of school, they couldn't catch me. I'd run like crazy, or I'd get on my bike. There's no way they could get me. I was also a little bit of a mad scientist. I used to rig up devices. I made homemade fireworks, that kind of stuff. So I didn't really get picked on that much because I was a little bit of a crazy mad scientist type. But when I thought about it over that summer, I thought, man, I'm going to go to high school. And in junior high, there were already the kids that were held back, the ones that were growing facial hair. They were huge. And when they picked on you, there wasn't much you could do. Of course, most of them, I figured they would be in high school. I would be in high school. I'd be like the target of everybody's aggression. Oh, look at this little thing. You know, we can pick on him. So I thought, how can I get out of going to high school? Well, I realized after I broke my arm, it's like, well, they treat me a little bit differently because I'm broken, but you know, they're going to send me back to school and it's not completely healed. It's like a little bird with a broken wing. What am I going to do? So I thought, if I could make myself sick, maybe I could get the flu. Maybe I could get sick some other way. So I thought about it. And I remember my dad telling me, because the thing was, I was stuck at home. Mom was taking classes for her teacher's certificate, as you know, John, every so often they got to go back and go to college. So she was at FIU. And my dad was working as an aircraft mechanic. So I was by myself at home. And there wasn't a whole lot to eat, and I didn't know how to cook. So I thought, you know what? It would be easy for me just to eat something I like. And what do I like? Well, I like meat. Meat is my thing. I like eggs. I like meat. I like cheese. I like different things, and they're all basically animal based. But my dad used to be very paranoid about saturated fat. They got rid of the butter. They were using margarine, which I hate. To me, margarine reminds me of bicycle bearing grease. It's like, it smells terrible. It's nasty. And then also the low fat. They had low fat sour cream, which tastes like the spackling that you plaster your wall with. It's disgusting. And then all the other things, the vegetables, the refrigerator was loaded with vegetables. And my dad used to make juice every day. I still have his juicer. Still have it, Oster juicer. You'd start that thing on. It reminds me of the wood chipper that they used to use when the FPL Asplund people would come around and cut trees. You'd hear in the distance. That's what it reminded me of. So I'm thinking, all right, so we're making garden compost, basically. And everything that was healthy was disgusting. It tasted nasty. It was bitter. And then it would make me sick. That was the other thing. So my parents gave me a ton of vitamins, everything from brewer's yeast tablets, bone meal, vitamin C, and all this stuff. I used to get sick. Well, I get sick about 3 times a year, which I still do. I just had the flu about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It lasts 3 days, 4 days max, and I'm back to normal. But when I was a kid, it was a 2-week ordeal. You'd get sick. I'd get the sore throat. I'd usually lose my voice, felt terrible. But the only good thing about it is when I got sick, I could take time off of school. So that was the good part. And as you probably know, I hate school, which is ironic because I started teaching at a college later on, but things happen very strangely in life. But my goal was simple. I'm going to eat the bad stuff. And I don't care if it kills me, because the way I figured, my life is no good. I'm going to be one of them little guys that everybody picks on and laughs at, short, skinny. Nobody cares about me. I figured, you know what? If I ended up getting fat, that would probably be a good thing. At least I could move around and I'd be big enough where people wouldn't mess with me. I had a couple of fat friends when I was a kid. In fact, I still know one of those friends today. And they got made fun of. But when you're fat and you're big, they may make fun of you, but they don't touch you because they know that if they get too close, they're going to get punched. When you're heavy, there's an advantage. When you're skinny and you're kind of fragile looking, they can treat you pretty badly. But when you're big, if you just have a big fat gut and skinny arms, that's one thing. But if you're the typical fat kid, you got to be strong enough to move that weight around. And when the bullies come up to you, you can just charge into them like a bull, knock them over. That's what my friend used to do. So I didn't care. I thought to myself, look, Rick, eat the stuff you like. If you get a heart attack, that's great. You can fake it, because I used to watch Fred Sanford and Son. He always said, this is a big one. Oh, so I could make an excuse. If something was going bad, I could go, I'm gonna have a heart attack. But of course, it's silly when you think about it now. When you're a 50-something guy like me and you're thinking back as a teenager, where did I come up with this crazy idea? But the fun thing about it, which this is the inspiring part of my story every time I've told it. And you'll notice I remember details a little differently, because over time, since I've been relating this story, I keep thinking back. And since I live basically in the same place that I did when I was a kid, I may find something that I remember and I go, yeah, I remember what that was about. And I kind of put the pieces together. But what I do remember, and this was back in 10th grade when I was in high school, sometime near the end of the year, and I don't remember what it was, but when I was in junior high, I had about a C average. I got straight A's by the time that I was finishing 10th grade. I didn't start out that good in 10th grade. I had problems, but it improved. And then I thought, this isn't that difficult anymore. I don't hate school as much as I used to. I don't like having to sit in a seat and listen to boring lectures and all that, but it really wasn't as bad. It wasn't like back in elementary school and junior high where I hated it. I remember my first day of school in kindergarten, how much I hated it. I felt like my parents had abandoned me in this horrible place. And it just seemed like as time went on and as the carnivore diet took effect, I enjoyed it, because when I was younger, I would just be desperate for lunch. I'd have a breakfast, which is usually oatmeal and some kind of crap, although my parents did give me eggs, thankfully. But I was just begging for lunch. And then after lunch, it was like I just didn't want to do anything, and I just watched the clock. And the clocks are like the ones I have in my house. I'll show you. See that up there? Okay. Those clocks, they work with a little ratchet mechanism, and every minute, click, 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 click. So I would watch that thing, and it was like slow motion torture every day. Click, click. And I was like, oh, lunch would come. Then we had lunch, and that went by pretty quickly. And then after that, it was like, oh, it took forever for 3 o'clock to come. And then it was funny. It's after 3 o'clock, everything went quick. Before I knew it, it was time to go to sleep at 10. But as I got better with the carnivore diet, it wasn't so bad. I'd finish lunch, and before I know it, it was 3 o'clock. So time just sort of changed, and it was a really good experience. And the more I think about it, I'm really glad that I did it. But the whole idea of the heart attack was just a form of rebellion against health-conscious dad and mom, and a system that didn't work for me. It seemed like whatever advice they gave me, it didn't work for me. I always got the short end, or I failed. And I felt terrible. But as the whole diet and everything changed, my outlook changed, and I realized that I'm not a failure. I'm actually able of doing things successfully.
You are not a failure. Absolutely not, Rick. Wow. Any Juliet, George, any questions from that?
You know
that
my
you'd like to
question. Come on,
What's that?
Rick, what's my question? Where's Milton?
Milton is actually sleeping next to the front door, and he's been running around all morning. I've been chasing him around. He loves to play. I used the cat toy on him somewhere around here. So he basically tears these things apart, but he finally wore out, I think. He'll be back.
One thing some of our viewers are commenting that don't know you well, and hopefully they join your channel, because Rick's on every Saturday morning. He could tell us about that. But how cool your setup is, and I kind of said, not really a setup. That's how Rick has those encyclopedias, I think from the late 50s and early 60s. They're the original, with those skeletons that we all liked in those world books.
I remember those.
I got them.
Yeah, I love those.
Everything is original and retro and pretty cool. He calls it old junk, but on his Saturday morning, he kind of goes through some of that, what he calls old junk, and the rest of us are seeing antique roadshow worth a lot of money.
He's a museum. I told him I want to take, when I had classes, I would love to take my kids on a field trip to go through with it. What is this? Well, that's called a telephone.
Show him, Rick.
He's got his rotary phone, and look at the microphone he's using. If I remember, who was it, George, that we used to do with him? It was Larry. Larry used to call him Lawrence Welk, right?
Larry, yeah, absolutely, yeah, indeed, yeah. From my point of view, Rick, the most important thing, as you know, whenever you are on with me, Rick, we have to have an honorary fly pass. So there he is, but
quack. Just new people are thinking, who is this guy with this stuff?
Sure. But what I'd also like, if you could do it quickly, or take your time, Rick, is you grow plants, you grow fruits, you are a carnivore eater, but self-sustaining, and you share the food and stuff. If you could tell us a little bit about that, that's pretty cool stuff.
Well, one thing that I've always liked since I was a kid, and if you look in the old encyclopedia, you'll notice that the most worn out book is the B for banana. I've always been fascinated by banana plants. So I have grown banana plants every place I've lived. Everywhere you go, you'll find, typically in the front yard or at least in the backyard, a large cluster of banana plants. I love tropical jungles. I used to like watching Tarzan as a kid, so I wanted my yard to be a jungle. I figured I could have a big enough tree, I'd swing on a vine myself. And I've actually done it here, although it is quite funny, swinging back and forth until the vine breaks. But thankfully, my yard is fully mulched. I've fallen down many times. I fell out of a tree. I've fallen out of a ladder. And when I hit the ground, you just kind of bounce because the mulch layer is spongy and thick. But I like growing plants because I've always believed that being around things that can grow is good because if you think about it, you could start with a bare patch of dirt and you just get some seeds or cuttings and you put them in the ground. You add water, the sun shines down on it, and it grows up. So now you have the ability to create something just from what's there. You can shape it, you can grow it, and then you can do pollination, you can do grafting, you can do all these things and produce plants that are not only nice to look at, but then can produce edible things. You can feed animals with it. People can eat it. I'm not against people raising their own fruit. Now, if you're a person who has health issues, I would recommend not eating fruit if it's sugar is causing your problems, because some people do get addicted to sugars and fruit can be a trigger. But for a person who's otherwise healthy, for example, me, I've been on the carnivore diet for years. If I eat an orange from my yard, it's not going to make me go to the store and buy a bunch of oranges because I'm against store-bought produce. I believe that if people are going to eat any plant material, they should get it locally. They should either get it from a local farmer or gardener or grow it themselves. I really don't see the need for these large stores. There's a lot of waste. You go to the back of any grocery store, there's piles of rotten fruit and lettuce and all this stuff. And it's just a lot of garbage. You see on garbage day, all the garbage cans are full to the top. They all smell like garbage. My garbage can is pretty much empty. It doesn't smell like garbage because there is no garbage. So as a kid, I really got into gardening. Now, my dad was very health conscious and he loved the tropical fruits. So I learned how to breed and raise papayas. I grew bananas. I grafted avocado, mango, loquat. I have a lot of fruit trees stuffed in this yard because, again, mom and dad liked that stuff. I wasn't crazy about it, but I was able to grow it. When my parents died, instead of throwing it away, I have friends, including a couple of vegan friends, who always ask me, when are the bananas ready? In fact, she just came by a couple of days ago. Oh, I don't see any bananas. I said, no, the cold weather's stunning. And we had one that blew over in a storm. I said, you're going to have to wait. So I've started watering my banana plants again to try to get them coming. I may have to add some magnesium sulfate because they do seem to be a little deficient because the ducks haven't been around. And when the ducks are not here, my garden starts to decline. And if I don't keep feeding the soil with mulching, I mean, I put Christmas trees in there as a mulch, but I may also have to use a few chemicals from time to time just to build the system up. But this is one of the main things. Being into gardening, I think, also helps a person live longer because all the old timers in the neighborhood, they were all gardeners and they seem to live longer. And I think it's more of not so much that they eat the plant material, but they go outside, they dig, they go in the sun. They have a reason to get up. They get up in the morning, they watch their garden, they see the flowers coming out, they see the fruits coming out, and they feel good about it. And I have a few friends that actually raise fruit. A friend of mine raises avocados and mangoes. I've got another friend that they do vegetables. So it's not completely incompatible, but that's the reason why I've gotten into the whole plant thing.
Awesome. Tell us, Rick, you've been to some of the meetups, Tampa last year, Tampa this year. That one video of me meeting Rick Rodriguez, the short, is at like 27,000 views because you're that famous. Tell us your experience at the meetups and meeting others.
Well, as you know, as poor as I am, I basically have a taxable income of zero because all my money goes to property tax and expenses. I don't travel. I hadn't been out of Miami. The last time I left this place was in 2005 for a conference in Las Vegas. And I would never go back to Las Vegas because, I'd been there before. It just seemed like every time I went there, it went downhill. It got less and less interesting. But that was for business anyway. I hadn't been anywhere. My mom started getting sick in 2008. Both parents I took care of from 2010 to 2020. So no money, no travel. And I didn't hit the carnivore space until 2022 when Joey interviewed me. And that was in August of 2022. That video disappeared. I wish it would still be there because that had hundreds of thousands of views. But I got to meet different people online. And my friend Russ Mitchell, who you probably see on the Keto Cookout, he somehow arranged for me to go to Hack Your Health. So I went to Hack Your Health last year in November, and he got the hotel, and basically it was across from the convention center, and I was able to meet several people that I had seen online, including John over here, who we met. We actually ate together. So, and then of course some of the famous ones like Dr. Baker and Dr. Kiltz, and there was like several people that I had met. Some of the more famous ones that are more popular, which like Berg, I said hi to him, and Benazati, and a couple of the other people that were there. But yeah, it was very interesting because the most I'd say life-changing thing was being able to meet the regular people. For example, well, I mean, at Dr. Kiltz's group, and that's pretty much where I ended up, because once I got in there, I was able to meet several people that I had seen before, and they probably have mentioned me as well. And I got into, and then of course, Carrie and the Healing Humanity group was right next to where Dr. Kiltz was. So I got to meet him and Adam, and it got to be really interesting because I had never met any of these people in person before. And I think that a lot of times when they saw me, no matter who it was, people seemed to be kind of shocked. They were looking, it's like, what is that? They know who I am, but until you see how tall I am, it's really hard to put me with this person. And then it's like, wow, he's taller than Dr. Baker. That's shocking. But for
You
some
taller
you,
than
you stood
everyone.
he stood next to Dr. Baker, and he was taller than Dr. Baker.
And the
you're
very
6'6", right?
6'6". The very first doctor that I saw when I got there was Dr. Nelson.
Right. He's
And
little.
the first thing that he was the first one that took a picture of me. So he stands next to me and he's holding out the phone. And it was really funny because, yeah, he's a lot shorter than I am, but I thought that was really interesting. And it was because of him that next thing you know, they lead me to the Dr. Kiltz booth. And that's kind of where the whole thing started. But my friend Russ, he had to leave because of business reasons, but we did get to eat out that night at the Tarragaccia Steakhouse. And as anybody could see, I do eat a lot of meat. Even though I'm as skinny as a toothpick, I can eat a lot. And I also got to meet Mike Seeley and several other people that I had chatted with that I never knew what they looked like in person. And there are pictures of us out there. So it was a great experience. I didn't expect much out of it in the beginning, but Russ told me, well, Rick, you're a celebrity. You'll get noticed. And sure enough, it worked out very well. And then I figured, well, that's it. Probably won't have any more meetups for a while. And then Dr. Kiltz himself invited me to his last meetup. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, why would he want me there? But it turned out to be very good. We had to get together at his place. We also had it at the steakhouse. We had the event at the hotel. I got to meet other people that I'd seen online. And some of my well, obviously, Juliet was the one that picked me up from the bus stop. And she took the video that was very popular. And there we go. See, there's me with John. I mean, look at how tall I am. That's the scary thing.
That that's almost shocking, John. Oh,
Wow.
That's so good.
He's tall. Yeah. Did I get it off the screen? I can't see if I
I
still
did.
there.
I
All
removed
right,
it
good.
from the stage.
Good.
I love that picture.
But this is interesting from someone who used to be one of the shortest kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he went carnivore, that's when it shot up. I mean, it's so connected because I asked him about his mother and his father, the paternal and the maternal height genetic gene, and it's not there, right, Rick? So
it's not there.
Now and then I'm jealous. I wish that when I was 14, 15, 16, if I just started eating meat like crazy, I could have got a lot taller because I never went above 5'11". I always wanted to be taller.
There you go. That was a question someone just asked.
I don't understand how it happened. And to this day, it was amazing to me because back then I had no idea that eating meat would make you taller. I thought that it would just make you fatter and get a heart attack and that would be it. But it didn't happen. And I never got fat no matter how much I ate. And I've always been sort of a big eater. My parents, we were poor, so we went to buffets. So it was like a challenge to me as to how much meat I could get in my system before we left. And that's what I would do. And I would eat mountains of meat.
But
I
you
wish my
didn't
parents.
you didn't eat carbs and sugar, and that's why you didn't get fat.
No, because I thought that was the cheap crap. Because to me, it seemed like that's the
You're
stuff they
right.
want you to eat.
Yeah.
So you don't eat the good stuff. They try to keep the good stuff back. But no one ever complained. I guess because I was so skinny and small, I think they felt sorry for me, and they kept bringing out the meat, and I would eat it. They're probably thinking, "Oh, this poor kid," But yeah,
And I
that'll.
have pictures of your dad. Your dad was, not very tall, very strong looking, and your mom pretty petite.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing that I expected your dad to be tall and slim like you.
Nope. No one is the family has been tall and slim like me. I'm the oddball of the family. But the more I think about it, it's probably related to the diet, because
Yeah.
no one in my family on either side has been a carnivore. And I don't even know anybody in this whole city that's a carnivore. This is a carbohydrate-centered town.
Yeah, I bet. So tell us a little bit about your channel. People watching are like, okay, carnivore. Yeah, I don't eat that way. But you bring a different style to our Saturday mornings.
Well,
Tell us.
I tell everybody, I started on YouTube in 2007, and it was basically like home movies and people sharing different things in their life. That's kind of what mine is. It's not about trying to impress anybody. It's just getting people on there to make comments, answer comments back and forth, and then I tell the experiences that I've had. I also have what I call ride and talk videos. Since my truck has been broken, I've had to do a lot of bike riding, which reminds me of when I was a kid, which is probably one of the reasons I've been remembering so many things when I was growing up. Because before I had a car, that's how I got around. It was on a bicycle, and it was always an adventure, because as long as you got home before it got dark,
Yeah.
you could go pretty much anywhere. And my parents originally were very nervous, but after a while they were too busy, they didn't care anymore. So I was able to go, and I went a lot of different places as a kid. And it was all kind of the same thought process. You want to do something like, now I need to go to the store. I need to buy something. So I'll get on the bike and I'll go to the store and I'll buy what I need to. And then I just get around like that. So that's the other videos. And I haven't done any. I mean, once in a while I've done some where I answer questions for comments, and I've done some short videos explaining things, like explaining how I'm working on my truck or working around the house. I've done little videos like that. I'll probably do more of them eventually, but it's not, I don't really mention carnivore in the title of my channel. And although I am carnivore, I do mention, like, you could see me eating. Sometimes I'll be cooking on the engine, or sometimes I'll be catching something to eat, maybe a tasty duck or iguana. So there is that in there, but it's not the focus of my channel.
Rick, let's go to the engine now, because people are going to want to know, how do you cook food on the engine of your truck or van while you are driving and the food doesn't fall off and get oil in it?
And I have to add, I love the videos where you show people like me, you talk out the engine. It's so educational at a level I could understand what's wrong with the engine, how you're fixing the engine. Super cool. Back to you, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's what I try to do, because there's nothing that's really complicated, especially when it comes to mechanical items. It's just a matter of looking for the signs and then finding a way to fix it. When it comes to cooking, believe it or not, the engine is actually a very stable way to cook. It depends on your driving style. If you're going down dirt roads and you're bumping all over the place, things are definitely going to fall off. If you're one of these people that drive like a maniac and you take corners really fast, yeah, things will fall off. But what I typically do, I have several methods. I use either a metal pan, which I've developed, and it clamps right onto the exhaust manifold. And then you basically just slip it over, tighten the wing nuts, put your food in the pot, put the lid on it, put the band around it, and then you can drive. And it's the same thing as if you're cooking on an electric stove, because like on a gas stove, and I have a gas stove, I make my own methane, flames are coming up onto the pot. But if you have an electric stove, you have either resistance, or you may have an inductive heater if you're fancy, and the heat is radiating through the metal. Well, the exhaust manifold of an old engine like mine you're talking about 400, 500 degrees at least. Plus, under the hood is somewhat insulated. Yeah, you got air blowing in through the front, but it's going through the radiator. That's going to be at least 170, 180 degrees. So you're going to have something almost like a convection oven. I mean, you think about the air fryer, that's a compact convection oven. It depends on your vehicle. Now, in a modern car, they have a lot of plastic pieces in there. I probably wouldn't want to cook on that engine because of all the microplastics and toxins and all that. But there's hardly any plastic under the hood of my truck. My 69 Chargers, they don't have any plastic. Everything under the hood is metal. There's rubber hoses, but that's about it. And when it's inside of a pot, which is, like stainless steel pot is what I normally use, and you have the lid clamped on it, the only thing you have to worry about is overflow. If it gets too hot, it may pressurize and overflow. But the way that the lid is designed, it's not really going to happen, because if it does get hot, it starts to rise up, it just runs back down. The lid fits inside. The way I designed it, the edge of the lid fits inside the pan, so any condensation will tend to go back in. Now, if you're going to do a roast, that's when you run into a bit of a mess. But there's a simple way around that. You just take aluminum foil and put it over your manifold on the engine. You're not putting it on the food, just put it over the engine, and then you put your roast in between the grill, and you put it right over the top, and then you just put the cover over it and just let it cook. So if it drips down, it's not going to get stuck on the engine. Now, when I took my old engine apart, I did find some carbon and residue, probably from all the steaks that I've cooked on the engine. But the other thing, too, is that it is a diesel truck. It doesn't use gasoline. The only petroleum will be the motor oil. So I use seed oils as a fuel for the engine, but not for cooking. So the heat from the engine radiates out, and it actually tastes very good. I've given engine cooked meat to friends, and I didn't tell them how it was cooked. I told them I barbecued it in my truck. I didn't tell them I barbecued it with the truck, because I do carry a portable grill, and I had one for years until it got broken. Although recently a good friend of mine gave me a new one, and this one has like a little butane thing, which is real handy. I've only used it twice, but when I'm driving, it's really handy because you can put it behind the seat. Usually behind the seat of my truck, I kept one of those propane grills or the little fold-up charcoal grill. So when you're parked, you can cook. But when you're driving, let's say I was going to go and visit Dr. Kiltz again, and I'm going to drive over there. It's like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive. I'll get a nice roast, and I'll put it on top of the engine. I'll put it in a container and just set it on top of the manifold. And as I'm driving there, it's going to cook. And the best thing about it is the smell from the cooking works its way in, because even when I have the air conditioning on, there's a cowl vent on the top of the truck. So the smell goes into the truck. So as I'm driving, I can smell it the same way I cook at home. I cook by sizzle and smell. When it smells just about a certain way, I may have to stop. And I've done this before where I'm over there on Highway 80 and I get past LaBelle, and it's like, okay, I got to take this and move it. Otherwise it's going to burn. So I'll take the container with the roast in it and I'll set it on top of the intake. That way it's not cooking directly from the exhaust. It's just getting like residual heat. And then the next, 40 minutes or whatever that I drive, then it'll just sort of slow cook. And by the time I'm done, it's absolutely delicious. And again, you can smell it. And when you stop it and you open the hood, you listen for the sizzle. If it's sizzling a lot, you know that it's overheated. But then, you get out your gloves and pick it up, move it over, and that's it. And if it's really overheated, you can take it off the engine, put it in the back of the truck, and attach it to one of the loops so it doesn't fly off when you drive, and then let that cool down a bit, and then put it back on the engine. So it's almost like cooking in the kitchen, except that you're out on the road.
I love it. I love it. I'm dying.
I know. It's amazing. I had a million questions for him, and other questions keep popping up. Like, is it going to smell like gas fumes or oil fumes? How does it not? How does it not?
Well, it doesn't, because, first of all, even if your engine's in good shape, you're not going to mix oil.
Okay.
Most of the bad smell comes out the exhaust system. It's not under the hood.
Okay.
Now, if you're a typical person that doesn't clean their engine, yes, it could smell like motor oil, but my engines don't leak oil, even though my vehicles are old, because I'm always servicing them, the oil pan gasket, the valve cover gasket. I do clean my engine, even if the outside of my vehicle looks like it came out of a lake. when you open the hood, you look at the engine, it's like, wow, the engine's pretty clean. So the only bad thing is that when I do paint the engine, for several months afterwards, you get paint fumes. So if you paint your engine, you may not be able to cook on the engine for 6-7 months until the fumes go away.
You hear that, everybody? Do not cook after you paint your engine.
That's right. And also,
Which I'll need to remember, because like
Juliet,
Smoothie
yeah.
says, wow, Juliet looks like she can't wait to try this. I'm like,
well, the other thing
I'll eat
too is
it.
positioning is very important. If you're going to cook on your engine, if you place the food near the firewall of the car, that's where most of the fumes are concentrated.
Okay.
You want to put them closer to the front, because the radiator, there's a lot of air going through that radiator and it pushes that back. So you get more fresh air under the hood than you would think, because again, air has to constantly move through that radiator. And the radiator, whether it's a new car, it's usually aluminum, or if it's an older car, it may be copper and it's painted with basically an asphalt-based paint. That stuff vaporizes very quickly and it's just no more than dirt. So really, you're not going to get smell of the engine if your engine's in reasonably good shape. And again, it works best the larger the engine. An old diesel like I have is perfect. Cast iron engine. You want something that is a lot of metal and no plastic. Best
Okay.
results.
So how do you use seed oils to run your car? Do you use that instead of motor oil?
A diesel engine was originally designed to run on a variety of fuels. And I believe when Rudolf Diesel demonstrated the first engine, he used peanut oil. The thing is, a diesel engine is a compression ignition engine. It's not like a gasoline engine. Gasoline engine, you have to have a almost stoichiometric mixture of fuel and air. You have to have the right amount to get the right burn rate. If you burn gasoline, for example, out in the open with very little air, it puts out a lot of black smoke. It doesn't produce a lot of heat. But when you mix it with the proper amount of oxygen and you ignite it, it burns rapidly and you get a rapid expansion. Even something like flour that you use for making bread can burn very rapidly if it's mixed with oxygen in the proper amount. This is why sometimes grain elevators explode, because if they don't keep them clean, the dust will mix with the air and all it takes is a spark and the whole thing is blown to bits.
Wow.
So the trick is with the diesel engine, diesel fuel does not burn very readily. If you take diesel fuel and you drop a match in it, most of the time it will go out. Of course, same thing with gasoline, believe it or not. If you have an open container with gas and you drop a match in it, it generally won't burn because you don't have the perfect mixture with air. But if you spread it out and then it starts to evaporate, one spark and it goes whoosh. This is why people should never use gasoline to start their barbecue. And I have a friend that did that, and he ended up with charcoal blown all over the yard, and I think he lost his eyebrows in the process. I told him, don't do it. But seed oils actually make a very good lighter fluid if you want to start your charcoal, because you pour the seed oils on the charcoal, put some paper in there, light it up, and only when it gets hot enough will it start to burn. Now, if you were to take seed oil, put it in a cup, and put a torch to it, it's not going to really do anything. But when you have a diesel engine, you have a piston, you're pulling down the piston, air is going into the cylinder. When you begin to compress the air molecules get closer and closer together, they get hot. And then at the right moment, just before it reaches the top, you have a high pressure injection of diesel fuel. It mixes with the hot air, it burns rapidly, pushes the piston down. Well, vegetable oil is almost the same sort of ratio that you get with diesel. It's a little bit less, but it works. So if you have a diesel engine, you can run it on vegetable oil.
So Rick, instead of diesel fuel at the gas pump, you can take a whole bunch of Wesson oil that you get at the store and dump it into the tank, and it will work as equally, as easily, without any backfiring or misfiring or anything, because it burns efficiently. Are we going to smell it differently?
Well, that depends. Now, there are a few caveats to this whole experiment. First of all,
Like, don't try it at home.
Yeah, I should have
well,
said that.
Go ahead.
all right. Here's the thing. Vegetable oil is, I mean, it's liquid at room temperature, but it can start to become solid as it gets colder. The vegetable oil contains glycerin, which has a tendency to become sludgy, and also it oxidizes. Vegetable oil oxidizes a lot more than diesel. So if you're going to run vegetable oil, which I do, you have to clean your system on a regular basis. If you were to take a modern diesel, which has a diesel particulate filter, which has electronic unit injectors, and it uses a rail system, and you put vegetable oil in it, you will completely destroy your fuel system in a matter of months, because the heat of the engine plus any oxygen in the system turns the oil into something like varnish or paint, a rubbery, sticky substance, and it will clog your system. And these new diesels use very small orifices. They use electronic controls, which can be destroyed, and they use a catalytic converter and diesel particulate filter, which also will be plugged up by the vegetable oil. Now, if you have an old diesel, like for example, an old tractor, a truck like mine, doesn't even have a turbo, it's just naturally aspirated, you can run it. But then you got to watch out for the other thing. If you live in a cold climate, if that fuel gets too cold, the rotary pump will seize and break and destroy your fuel system. So now you have a massive problem. You're going to have to buy a new pump. And the injectors, they get coked up. They get dirty. But again, if you do what I do, every 6 months, tank comes out, injectors come out, pump comes out, everything gets cleaned, gets put back in, and it's in perfectly good shape. It's just that oxidation that you have to watch out for. And I use used oils, so they have to be spun in a centrifuge, heated, to be dewatered, to remove any of these free fatty acids, which will destroy your system. So, but it can be done. Now, what a lot of people do, they make what's called biodiesel, and they take the used vegetable oil, they use sodium hydroxide, and then what they're doing is they're removing the glycerin and they're leaving behind the actual oils. And if you do that, then you have a lot less problems. You can run biodiesel in pretty much any diesel, even a modern one. They work very well in the modern diesel. The problem is it takes more time and more money. And by the time you do it, sometimes it's just cheaper to buy the petroleum diesel.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that right there is the explanation why I will never put a seed oil in this body again.
Right. And that tells us about seed oil a little bit more from a totally different angle, doesn't it? George, what are your thoughts on our man Rick here putting seed oil in his truck?
Well, I think that's a very good use of seed oil, because he's absolutely right.
He uses it for paint thinner too. Am I right, Rick? Don't you use it for all these other things?
I make paint with it. In fact, when I painted my payphone, I used seed oils to make the paint. And I used carbon basically from roof cement, from roof tar, to make it black.
Fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, obviously, if anybody wants to know more about the history of seed oils, I learned through Nina Teitschultz, the investigative journalist, and the truth about seed oils, or truth about vegetable oils. It's on YouTube. It's a few years old now, but it gives all the information that you need never, ever to consume seed oils again. Also, they tend to spontaneously combust on your clothes, and there have been quite a few cases of restaurant uniforms being taken to laundry, and it's actually the uniforms have spontaneously combusted in the back of the laundry truck. Yeah, come on, folks. Use seed oils what they're meant for. They were diesel lubricants. They're not meant for human consumption.
Lubricate your chainsaw with it.
Yes, that's another way.
It does. They only actually
were introduced to the human food chain in the 1940s, when they discovered a way through hydrogenation of stabilizing them. Procter & Gamble originally introduced Crisco, which was crystallized corn oil, back in 1911, but these poisons never appeared in the food chain until the 1940s. And yeah, it's we know what's happened since. The rates of cancer, I'm not sure we can blame it on diabetes, but basically they damage your mitochondria, and they provide the building blocks of the mitochondria. The building blocks are then defective, and the house falls down. So yeah, I'm very, very opposed to seed oils. I actually came to this space believing that sugar was the number one public enemy. I don't anymore. I now believe that seed oils is public enemy number one. Yeah,
I agree.
So that's my thoughts.
Rick, you had a comment on this? Volkswagen. Okay.
Yeah. Well, all those old diesels are very easy to convert. So they were popular.
John says, I always wanted to build a gas generator or a gaserator. Is that what it says?
With
Rick?
that.
How do
Well,
you get a ring vehicle off of firewood?
It's a gasifier. It's used to make wood gas, which is what my old truck used to run on.
Wow.
So my old Dodge truck, it ran on wood.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gasification is a technology that's been around for 100 years. In fact, the Germans were using it in World War II when they didn't have enough gasoline. So they were burning wood. And my truck ran on that. And the generator for my house also runs on wood gas. So if I lose power after a hurricane, I have unlimited fuel because everyone's throwing out wood. So I can just keep burning, and I got my AC, my lights. In fact, right now, I'm the poor man in the neighborhood. I'm the one that's living primitive. But after a hurricane...
Oh, he's the rich man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the rich man. Everybody comes to me for free ice because I
Right.
got plenty of ice. I plug in the ice maker and just start making ice, and all my neighbors are coming over for free ice.
Isn't that amazing? I think also the reason we don't know about all these alternate fuels is because the big three auto companies didn't let anybody know about it. They wanted everybody to use gasoline. So we only had gas engines for so long. I mean, we even had electric cars way before the electric cars today. So many other possible ways of propelling something. The big three automakers crushed it for money and power. Am I right, Rick?
Well, that's probably part of it, but I think a lot of it is just practicality. It's a lot easier to buy a fuel than to have to struggle with all these other sources. And one of the things that the government hates is people who are independent. So people that are independent are often looked at as some kind of nut. So that way they tell people, well, you don't want to be like one of those tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, do you?
Mhm.
And that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
We
And the
also
other
need, sorry, Rick.
A lot of
Go,
times
go.
people scam you. They'll make up something, they can run their car on water, and they'll scam you. And it gives a bad name to the alternative energy. So it's a combination of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We also need to go back to about 1911 and J.D. Rockefeller. I think many of us know that he was the sponsor of allopathic medicine because he employed Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, to employ Flexner to give us a Flexner report. What people may not know also is that there was a triumvirate between Rockefeller, Carnegie, and Henry T. Ford. So obviously that triumvirate were very keen to keep any other alternative fuel source than fossilized crude oil off the market. So yeah, Carnegie, steel, Henry T. Ford, motor manufacturer, and J.D. Rockefeller, who provided the fuel. So yeah, it was the perfect triangle to make sure that homeopathic medicine was basically banned through Carnegie in the Flexner report. And of course, Rockefeller combined with Henry T. Ford to make sure that the diesel, the internal combustion engine ran on diesel or gasoline, I presume, and nothing else got a look in back in those days. Bit of history for you, folks.
We have a question. Someone, not for me to answer for sure. Rick, do you know your IQ?
Oh,
I've had it tested a few times. It ranges anywhere between 130 and 140, somewhere around there.
See, you are brilliant.
There you go.
Rick, I've got a quick question for you before we finish. How did you discover what we now know as the carnivore community? How long have you've been around a while? How long has the community existed? Because you must have seen it being born.
I didn't really know there was a carnivore community until about 2022, but I had seen other people make videos that were carnivore related. I did see Dr. Baker. I did see, what was his name? Fruity Paul Saladino pushing carnivore.
And
yeah. And the other one is Butter Bob Briggs, who's recently reappeared. He made videos about butter makes your pants fall off and lard makes you lean. That's pretty much what I saw. Normally, when I was on YouTube, I was looking for the energy scammers. So that's how I started on YouTube. That's why I know so much about that. And I had my wood-powered truck, and I made videos on that. And then after that, there was the farming community, which I've subscribed to many of their channels because I got interested. I wanted to see who produced cattle, who produced hay, and try to get with them because I wanted to meet some of these people. And I'm still looking to do that. Carnivore community had to be around, I would say, 2018, 2019 is the first time that I saw like Saladino and Baker and then Butter Bob. And then after that, I didn't really pay attention to it. But right after my mom died in 2020, then I got more into it because I started getting more on YouTube. And then 2021, I started to see, you know, everybody was talking about Barry. And then you had Chafee popped in somewhere around then. And I'm trying to think of who else. But there was like several different people. And then as time went on, then 2022, that Joey interviewed me. Then there was a lot of interest. Then I started getting into the groups. And then shortly after that came out Carrie and Healing and Homestead. What is it? Homestead How. Healing Humanity came later, but that was him. And then it's just, once that started rolling, then I was interviewed by Joey. Pretty soon, everybody wanted to interview me. And then I started meeting people that way. It all started in August of 2022, really. That's when it got rolling.
Awesome. I didn't think I haven't been on a live lately, Rick, where Butterbob wasn't mentioned. Him coming back has been the talk of the town, so to speak.
Well, that's great. We are coming near the top of the hour. We have about 3.5, 4 minutes left. And so let's, we'll start with Rick and then we'll end it with one of us. Rick, where can our new viewers find you? Because you can't find them at Rick Carnivore. What's your channel called?
My channel is called Charger Mopar. I call it Charger Mopar's World. The reason I call it Charger Mopar is because my favorite car, which I have a couple that I need to work on, is a 1969 Dodge Charger. That was a car I always wanted as a kid, and that's what I like. I won't have any other car. So Charger Mopar's World on YouTube. I do a live stream every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I'm usually on with Russ Mitchell, Keto Cookout, on, 8:30 every other week, Tuesday night. And I go into a lot of live streams like yours and others. So it's just a matter of looking around. All you have to do on YouTube is go look for Rick, 40-year carnivore, Rick, 41-year carnivore, 42-year carnivore, or just Rick Carnivore. I mean, there's several other Ricks, but there's only one that's been carnivore for more than 4 decades.
True.
And that's me.
All right. Thank you. How about you, Juliet? Tell us about your new website that's going to be out soon.
Oh my gosh, in a week. So, yep, just like I said at the beginning, it's CoachJulietEdens.com, where I have local personal training, group classes, all kinds of interesting stuff on there, will be on there. And you can find me there. And also my new Facebook is Coach Juliet Edens as well.
All right. Thank you. George?
Yeah, this is a year of transition for me, really. I am in the construction industry at the moment, but I'm looking to move into full-time teaching versus coaching, probably history and English. I'm a qualified coach, but I'm also a qualified English teacher. I will be looking to start a tourism operation here in the UK for people who wish to come and visit outside of London, come down to the southwest, and I can put together an itinerary for you. I have a carnivore-friendly hotel right on my doorstep. And then in the winter, I hope to do a bit of English teaching based on the Victorian novels. We will go through them and also history, obviously, as well, because I am known as a carnivore historian, as you probably gathered from tonight. And like Rick, you will find me on various other people's channels. I'm very much associated with DC Rebuilding. On Sunday mornings, I pretty much always go on with Grandma's Crochet Corner towards the end of your night, the beginning of my day. Often you'll find myself and Rick coming off the subs bench to go and join Dr. Kilt when he's short of friends on a Sunday. I couldn't make it today. But yeah, I'm around quite a lot, and basically whenever my friends are doing a live interview, for example, Juliet and people like that, you will nearly always find me in the live chat. So yeah, I am available quite a lot. Thanks, John.
All right. Thank you, George, and everyone. Carnivore Teacher Alpha. I put a teaching video out myself. I was a teacher for 34 years, and now I teach about carnivore and the proper human diet on my YouTube channel. So I put out a short video out every single day. I'm on this wonderful Carnivore Sunday School with my wonderful guests and hosts, and I go on Monday Night Live with myself And I pick a topic, and if you come and join us and typing your questions and comments, they drive that discussion, and I try to answer questions. I wrote 2 books. One is called The Carnivore Teacher. If my green screen will show it. And one is called Process to Death. Come on, green screen. There we go. And you can find those in Amazon. I put them on Audible too. If you're a person who doesn't like to read but likes to listen, you can listen to that on the go. And I'm just really honored and even humbled just to be in the presence of these wonderful carnivore people. Everyone I meet is supportive and friendly and helpful. And I have never met such a wonderful group of people. So thank you, George. Thank you, Juliet. Rick, my man. We've got to get together. You're just down the road from me. I only met you this one time. We have to do a meetup.
One of these days, that truck will be running again. You'll see.
All right. Or I'll meet you down there. I'll come get the address. I'll stop at your door, knock. Be a surprise, okay?
All right.
I won't surprise you, I promise. All right, next time we'll talk about ducks a little bit more. How about that? And iguanas. We didn't hit on any of that, and that's really fascinating for our audience to know too.
Yeah.
All right, folks, join us next Sunday for Carnivore Sunday School as well. Thank you for joining us this week. Take care.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye,
Goodbye.